We imagine a gym where you walk on the training floor and all the equipment knows you, sets up automatically. There's like an AI-based personal trainer, as if there was a human personal trainer next to you, making sure that every single movement you're doing is most effective and safe for you.
Welcome back to the Fit Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Philipp Roesch-Schlanderer, CEO of EGYM. In this episode, we talk about the company's smart equipment and software offering. We discuss the evolution of the fitness industry, including the role of technology, expanding the market, and integrating with healthcare. Plus, Philipp shares what's next for EGYM after landing a new $225 million investment. Let's get into it. The Fit Insider Podcast is brought to you by Jack Taylor, our exclusive PR partner. More than just PR, they're creative storytellers and brand builders who actually understand the health and wellness industry. To learn more, head to fit.co/Jack Taylor. That's FITT.co/Jack Taylor. Hi, Philipp. Welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing.
Yeah, likewise. I'm excited to chat more about everything that you have going on. Maybe just given that our audience is a little bit more US based, introduce some of those folks to you. And if not, if they're already familiar with EGYM, maybe give them a little more context on everything you have going on. Certainly a lot of momentum and a lot of exciting developments. So maybe just to kick things off, why don't you give the quick introduction about yourself and EGYM, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. So I'm Philip. I co-founded EGYM together with my friend Florian, and I was born and raised in Germany. And then I moved for my studies to the US, and I attended Columbia Business School in New York City. And that was actually for me the first time ever going to a gym. My friends at university told me, hey, if you go to a US business school, you have to wear your Columbia t-shirt and you have to take it to our gym. And so that's what I did. But then I realized I have no idea what I'm doing there. Like, I was one of those people that would kind of step on a cardio machine and hit the quick start button, even though I knew it kind of makes no sense. It has nothing to do with my body. It has nothing to do with my training goal. On strength machines, people told me, yeah, maybe you just do like 3 sets of 15 reps with a random training weight. Kind of try to kind of get to your limits. And always when I finished my workouts, I always wondered, I was a competitive soccer player back in Germany. And I wondered always, like, did I win today? Like, what was the score count? And so kind of my story is basically that I have been an unsuccessful gym goer. Which I think is very different from most of the people in our industry are people that have been always very passionate about fitness. And so I think we have a good intuition about how, and that's our mission, we can make the gym work for everyone and not just for expert users. And so kind of that's then how I came up with the idea to found EGYM. And I always thought, wow, if the gym would actually work for everyone, we could have a huge impact on the largest market in the world, healthcare, because right now healthcare is basically 99% repair, but everything will be more sustainable. Why shouldn't be healthcare more sustainable, which is kind of rather a preventative lifestyle? And so, then we started small and tried to fix this problem and making the gym work for everyone, and then also connected to the healthcare market.
Yeah, there's, I think, so many different aspects of that I want to get into, but I want to maybe just give the audience the kind of full picture at this point in terms of the offerings, right? There's a couple different, call it solutions or products. Maybe at the highest level, could you give us an overview and then we'll get into more specifics?
Yeah, very happy to. So we imagine a gym where you walk on the training floor and all the equipment knows you, sets up automatically. There's like an AI-based personal trainer, as if there was a human personal trainer next to you, making sure that every single movement you're doing is most effective and safe for you. And then when you finish your workout, we will provide you with the data we've been collecting about you, but also more importantly, we'll provide you with meaningful analysis of how you've been able to improve your health. Because, we always like to say at EGYM, workout success is sports science plus behavioral science. And so kind of these are the things that we want to achieve. And the way we do that is basically with 3 product categories. Our first product category is what we call eGym Cloud. So one of the things we realized, if we want to imagine this gym that is fully connected and fully personalized and really delivers for everyone, we need to be able to leverage all the different great vendors of the gym industry to have them keep doing what they're really good at, but still connecting into one cloud system that you have a one comprehensive experience. And so we are now operating the largest API platform in the global gym industry, where we connect players like Live Fitness, Preco and Matrix, InBody, ABC and Daxco. Like across all categories, operators will have an opportunity with us to basically provide one consistent experience. And then this eGym Cloud comes with two suitable apps, our branded member app and our personal trainer app, so that all these stakeholders have access to the data. Our second product is that we digitize areas that couldn't be digitized inside the gym because they were analog. So we have smart strength machines. We have our software on these cardio machines, but on strength machines, we couldn't upload software because they were analog. So we've developed our own smart strength machines, and we believe that strength indeed is the king category for gyms for many reasons. And also we have our own assessment tools where we take the data from other assessment tools, but really make sure that we can basically provide an optimal experience, measure you when you start your journey, and then have the entire gym knowing you. And then our third product is basically, now that we have been more and more progressing and really making the gym work for everyone, to then connect it to the healthcare market. And we realized the best way to do that is to actually allow employers to send their employees to gyms where we can more and more provide a guarantee about effective and safe workouts, and we can report back the data.
I think it's really interesting and also important. And as somebody who comes from the fitness industry and having worked at everything from a YMCA, so like a community club, to a very kind of high-end boutique experience, to like a functional training facility, there's obviously like these varying levels of experience, but also kind of desire and goals from the individual perspective. And all the while, is the owner of the club, you're thinking about how to maximize revenue and make sure members get results and improving retention. And there aren't many kind of solutions that start at that place and say, how do we make sure all these things kind of fit together? How do we do it in a way where you have a complete picture, whether you're the exerciser or whether you're the club or whether you're the manager or whether you're the employer or, healthcare company. So I'm kind of curious, as you start to put these pieces together, you talk about the three products. Do you have a thought, like, why hasn't this been the norm? Why hasn't this been kind of the goal that we were working towards as an industry versus what it often tends to be? And even if you look at public companies in the US and earnings calls, it's, memberships, class attendance, franchises sold, number of locations, and not necessarily, is anybody getting better? Is anybody getting healthier? How are we quantifying this? How do we know? So what is that disconnect in? And maybe in your mind, like, why hasn't that opportunity or problem been solved?
Yeah. So one thing that we encountered was that basically, in order to really personalize the experience, you need to bring all vendors on one table. Because if you have a personalized experience that then only covers very few products, then kind of people don't really buy into this logic. And of course, also you miss a lot of data to really provide an optimal workout prescription and an optimal analysis. And so then, like, your initial idea would be, yeah, maybe that could be a great monetization way. But then I realized actually it's going to be such a huge effort just to build trust and make everyone convinced that they should be joining eGym Cloud. And so I've spent like years of kind of building a partnership with players like, Live Fitness, Preco, Matrix as an example, to really make them confident that they can trust us, that we want to be kind of, that company that elevates the entire industry. And so that also means we don't want to tap into revenue potential from them. We want to just tap in additional revenue potential, but really want to be great partners. And if you would speak to all these CEOs, I think they would confirm that we are actually a really good partner. And we do all of that without charging for it. Like, our API platform is, first of all, free. We then have monetization via our suitable apps. But that was kind of for me very clear, like if we cannot get industry interoperability, forget everything else. And then another topic that I indeed encountered is that I first thought we build amazing products and people love it. And from one day to another, everyone wants to buy it. And then I realized, no, this is not how it works. Like I had to learn this also the hard way, that basically you have in all the different segments that you just mentioned, you just have different KPIs that drive their business. So for example, YMCAs want to nicely present their impact to their community. So health impact and nice presentations of all the data is here very critical. For like customers, one of our very exciting customers is, for example, David Lloyd Leisure from the UK. And so for them, really, because they have very high membership fees, we did like years of retention studies to make them very confident to double down on EGYM. Then totally different segment, EOS Fitness, high volume, low price in the US. We have kind of really built with them the digital journey so that they are now with us much more successful in yield management, in upselling a higher tiered membership. And so basically we learned as EGYM that there's always these two dimensions. One is how can we really satisfy the users, the end users, but at the same time, how can we come up with direct ROI for whatever KPI is most important for a different segment. And to your point about kind of, what is being reported, I think this is part of our industry to mature more also. When you think about how SaaS companies really track closely NPS cohorts and the likes, and it's just like kind of already a more mature industry than us. But that's just also great for all of us in this industry, because we can be one of the biggest, but we are not yet there. So we can actually in our lifetime create that. And so it's also exciting.
Yeah, that is something that I think maybe doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, from our perspective in Fit Insider and some of the things that we talk about, we often look at maybe fintech or SaaS or some of these other industries that are obviously massive and kind of attract the headlines, and they attract huge investments and maybe even the talent, right? Like whether it's technical talent or people who are passionate about it. And then you start to think, I mean, health, fitness, wellness, there couldn't be a larger, more impactful industry when it comes to, directly tying into healthcare. And maybe what is it going to take for us to get that same type of perspective or, maturity about it? And I think all the things that you're talking about moves us closer in that direction. I know it's part of EGYM's mission to think about how do we tie this into healthcare? How do we make it impactful, whether that's prescription exercise or corporate wellness, or even maybe like the consumers, the exercisers, making that connection to their health. When it comes to having the products right out there in the wild, so to speak, in the gym, is there a learning curve, or what is that adoption like to say, hey, this is different than maybe the gym experience that you've seen before? And you mentioned about retention or engagement or kind of community health impact. From that user perspective, how are you through these clubs able to articulate that value and get people to like buy into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we have found out is it's a good idea for gym operators to kind of start this digital journey, but it's not like oftentimes they think, it's a 0-1 and now I have to go all in. But it's typically like a long journey that it's just very important to start today. And I take my members and my trainers and everyone like with me. And what we see definitely is that, for example, the best engagement happens if there's connected equipment and there is a member app from this gym that basically shows my health data. It's not just a marketing or admin tool, but actually it shows my data. When I speak to my personal trainer via their personal trainer app, they refer to my data. And so like the more touch points we have, the higher the engagement. That's why maybe they start with some smart strength machines from EGYM. Then they also turn on our software on Matrix machines, and so on and so on. Then they use our personal trainer app for their PTs to upsell their service in a data-driven way. Hey Joe, thanks for joining. I've just seen that you're actually showing up twice a week, but you have muscle imbalances. I just see it here in my data. Why shouldn't I show you quickly some more complex workouts to get rid of it? Because I see that you actually want to get rid of your back pain. And so if we now start kind of fixing your imbalances, that's a huge step towards living pain free. And so we kind of try to connect more and more, and we see that then the tide gets stronger and the boats are lifted better. The personal trainers sell better. The members are treated better. The purchasers are more excited to buy more connected products and so on.
Yeah, I always thought that was, even you still hear it today, but more so, I feel like, I guess 8 or 10 years ago when I was actually like in the gym and managing a fitness division of, at that point, like YMCA, like community fitness centers. And there was always this back and forth about, the technology that even then was starting to get incorporated into the gym, and personal trainers, group fitness instructors being concerned about, oh, this is going to replace us. Oh, this is going to make me, obsolete. And some of those things have carried through. And much like you, as you're, talking about the experience, like my position was then, and it continues to be, as a trainer who has that kind of the relationship, the empathy, the understanding, the ability to be there in real time and adapt workout, all those things, like the more data, the better. Give me every tool that I could possibly have to then help you achieve your goals. Do you find that it's still a concern or a pushback, maybe a hesitation among either professionals or the industry in general, that like this technology is going to make either the in-person experience, as the industry has traditionally thought about it, community and the relationships among individuals and trainers, and even the trainer themselves, like obsolete? Or are people now coming around to the fact of like, no, this is just how it's going to be, and it's a better experience all around?
Yeah, I would say, like, there's like two dimensions of the spectrum. Like, I would say the worst case of the spectrum is indeed, I had these conversations with PTs that told me, your products are really amazing, but I can much more easily upsell if the rest of the gym is really, really, really awful, because then my service is so clearly better. But then you have like fantastic PTs that are self-confident, and they know that they're not just salesmen. They can actually really change people's lives. And they realize, oh my gosh, with your data, I mean, it's so much nicer for me to pitch my service based on underlying data that I have about from all these people here on the training floor, versus starting a conversation talking about the weather, then trying to understand their name, their problems. And then, in Germany, we have a saying for such a conversation: first you steal my watch, and then you tell me what time it is. And so kind of, that's a really difficult sales process. Or like, every member knows in the meantime, if this PT gives me a free of charge orientation session, the only reason why she's doing it is because she wants to upsell me, right? And in a data-driven way, like, to be helpful to my problem is a totally different ballgame. And we see now, when I started, I had more of the kind of the negative conversations, but in the meantime, most of my conversations are exactly in that, because personal trainers have grown to be much more self-confident. They understand that they're almost like not only sports scientists, but they're psychologists. They have elevated into much more important roles, and if people can afford it, they know that there's nothing better than this. But a lot of people can't afford it, and they should still have then also a great experience.
Yeah, there's certainly different experiences, different goals, different price points within that, and these types of products, this technology opens that up and makes it more accessible than ever. It creates more opportunity, right? Not less. And I think, as an industry, one of the things that we try to come back to is that it's not like the people who are already going to the gym are not the people really that we should be thinking about how do we cater new solutions and access to. It's like all the people who aren't working out or going to the gym at all. It's like, how do we get them in the door? So different things that are more accessible or easily adaptable or intuitive, even, that they don't have to worry about being upsold, or even the intimidation of like, hey, how do I use this thing? Like you said at the onset, like when your kind of initial, spark of what am I even doing here? Am I doing any of this right? Does it matter? I think is hugely important.
Yeah. And we as an industry, just like we are roughly $100 billion industry globally. The question is, should we really keep on that level? I mean, our industry has been great because since 2000, we have a CAGR of roughly 4%. The gym industry specifically outperformed GDP growth in every single year, with the exception of 2020 when we were locked down. But again, 2021, 2022, we outperformed GDP growth. So we are like definitely performing better than GDP, which means like we are gaining on importance. But still, like we're so far behind our possibilities. And then one of the examples that I always like to talk about, just musculoskeletal diseases in the US only is more than $1 trillion a year. Like musculoskeletal diseases in the US makes Google globally look like a smaller company, right? And what are people doing specifically, for example, with back pain, which is a big category of musculoskeletal diseases? Well, it's painkillers and it's massages. Both have no more impact after 48 hours. And in my view, oftentimes even unnecessary surgeries. And shouldn't we be, as an industry, be the players that will take that money and provide people with a great strength training, get rid of muscle imbalances, and lengthening muscles via fascia workouts or yoga workouts, right? We could fix it. But the question is just for us as an industry, do we just really want to stick to aesthetics only? Or do we want to take that step and tap into this huge opportunity of changing the biggest market in the world, healthcare?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And even as you were saying that, it's like the perception of Gold's Gym and bodybuilders and or even now to some extent boutique fitness studios and like what comes with that and the amenities and the experience and all those things are fantastic. And if that's what you aspire towards and that's the thing that motivates you, great. And that will continue to be a segment of the industry. But
For sure.
back to the point around maturation and us as an industry trying to have to go through these evolutions and then thinking about different operators, brands, leaders like yourself, where do we want to steer it? I wholeheartedly hope and think that is in the direction of healthcare solutions and impactful from like a longevity, health span, lifespan perspective. So I guess let's talk about that a little bit. How do we bridge that gap? Like, how do we do it in a way where, when you talk about whether it's prescriptions for painkillers or anything else, or, the amount of, at least in the US, kind of subsidies that go to, ultra processed foods or all these different kind of segments that are unhealthy for us, shifting that to, hey, let's align the incentives. Let's motivate people in the direction of being healthier. What does that maybe tangibly look like for fitness
Yeah.
operators?
Yeah. So first of all, maybe there's, in my view, three steps or categories. Category one is basically just elevate our existing gym business more into a longevity play. So for example, one of our most clicked KPIs at EGYM is what we call BioAge. Among the dimensions of strength, cardio, metabolism, and flexibility, we pull our own data, but also data from all our other vendors via EGYM Cloud together and kind of benchmark people on these different dimensions. And when operators use the BioAge and someone would join in January because she wants to lose weight, we recommend then operators to tell her like the great thing is we have perfect protocols in place to help you now lose weight. But in parallel, we will monitor your BioAge because that will define your quality of life and how you can live longer and better. And so she will start very motivated, but at the time, and we see that in the data, when she loses maybe her motivation of weight loss, and that's kind of our typical churn, she will still keep fighting and will keep going back and coming back because she may have lost the discipline for a strict diet to really be skinny, but she still wants to live longer and better. And so this is already how we massively improve, retention, but also already open for a much broader audience of people, because fundamentally, like, we have a fixed cost based business with 100% gross margin, the gym. And so more people on the same cost structure is just better. And so we open up our space from aesthetics to already longevity. Then step 2, and for that we need WellPass, is show employers that the likelihood for their workforce, they're still healthy, but the likelihood for a workforce to move into certain chronic conditions is less likely if they go to gyms that have an effective and safe workout where we can prove the data, right? I mean, also one of the totally stunning numbers I read yesterday is from the CDC. 1 in 3 Americans have pre-diabetes. So kind of that's already then getting a lot of money from employers for making sure that people don't even slip into chronic conditions. And then phase 3 is, hey, now they have chronic conditions, now they have diabetes, now they have back pain, now they have problems with their joints, and so on and so on. What can we do with specific protocols to make sure that they deal better with it in a more quality of life way, but also in a lower cost way, right? And for that, we need to offer a gym experience, in our view, that we like to say, you need to consume it, you need to work out like a pill. And what we mean by that is, Big Pharma does a huge study and proves that this specific pill tackles a certain problem. But now they can make healthcare prescribe it, because it will always do exactly the same thing. And the gym would be a little bit like, we have proven in millions of studies that certain workouts heal back pain or so on. But then when people go to the gym and do something totally different, that would be like for Big Pharma proving one specific medicine and then trying to get approval to have just prescribed any kind of medicine, right? And so we need to be able to replicate what has been proven in studies without variance. And for that, we need to control the exercise equipment.
Hey everyone, we'll get back to the show in just a second. But first, I wanted to tell you about our exclusive PR partner, Jack Taylor. Honestly, this one's a no-brainer. We've known the Jack Taylor team for years. They work with some of the most innovative health and wellness companies. We're talking Whoop, Athletic Greens, Hyperice, and many more. Jack Taylor has an extensive industry network, knows how to work with high-growth companies, and really invests in building long-term relationships. I know this firsthand because they're Fit Insider's PR agency, so I can confidently recommend them, and I do all the time. From startups to more established brands, they go beyond pushing product to help companies truly thrive. To learn more, head to fit.co/Jack Taylor. That's FITT.co/Jack Taylor. Now back to the show. Yeah, I think that last piece is very compelling in that you can't leave everybody to their own devices to wander around a gym and expect there to be some specific outcome, the same way that you just can't go into a medicine cabinet and start taking all different supplements or pills or medications and expect it to cure the issue that you have. So refining that a little bit back to the quantifying it and making it interoperable and plugging all the pieces together to say, no, it is this specific thing. And if we're doing that, there should be incentives or prescriptions or rewards, whatever it is for that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because I do, even in the kind of messaging, right? Or the approach, the positioning that more brands are taking, it is around longevity. It seems to have entered the culture and zeitgeist in a way that it previously hadn't. Like this, it clicked with a lot of people, I think, coming off of COVID and the pandemic, that like, oh, like my health, my holistic view of health is much more important. I can do things to, in a preventative way, protect myself against certain ailments. And the last thing, and if I don't have my health, which we all should intuitively know, like I don't really have anything. So now starting to make those connections among brands, consumers, employers, healthcare, in a way where it's, and this is what you're ultimately saying much more succinctly than me, is that we're making it undeniable. There's no question. It is this way. It is proven. And therefore we should put funding or attention or prescriptions, whatever it is, to those things. So yeah, very much fall in the same category as you, that hopeful that things continue to move in that direction.
The nice thing is consumers are already there. Life like longevity and increased health awareness. We hear already for at least 5 years the term quantified self. Like, the world is ready for us. We just need to kind of be ready for it too. And that's just like we need to take the gym online.
To that point, in a way, which I think you're doing, and again, I think there are more brands and operators are starting to move down this path. Even when you say something like quantified self or biohacking, or you name the terminology, for the average person, they're just, what is this? What does this mean? Like, how does this apply to me? And so taking those concepts, which are valid, and making them, maybe not accessible is the word, or just simplifying them, making it, kind of in a way that you don't even have to mention it. It's so
Yeah.
intuitive and natural that you're just doing it by going to the gym and participating in this kind of self-improvement, that really all the pieces should be in place. And that's when it's incumbent upon us as an industry, right, to solve that problem, so that, like, you, individual customer member who just wants to be better and is doing all the things to take care of themselves, like, just by showing up and doing this thing, like, we take care of everything else for you. And it feels like we're moving more in that direction.
And by the way, one of our principles, how we develop product, is basically, and it's very interesting. It's from beginners to expert users. They all have in common that when they go to the gym, they don't want to think. They just want to exhaust themselves.
Yeah.
And the way I always kind of compare that to is when you type in the GPS, I want to go to Boston or so, then you don't want to have like a scientific explanation on every single conjunction why it's right now better to take a left and not a right and so on. You basically want to just put the pedal to the metal and think about something else, but have a good feeling it will bring you on the fastest possible way to Boston. And the same thing is true for people going to the gym. They want to exhaust themselves. They want to put the pedal to the metal, but they want to think about something totally different. And so kind of and this is true for all users of the gym, and it's quite interesting. And so we always try to develop products exactly in this way. Like on our products, you never need to configure something. It's just like we should know what you need today.
Yeah, it's hugely important and key in bridging this gap, which is where the whole kind of the thought, if we trace it back now, started, and getting there and continuing in that direction. The other part, I guess, pieces that I wanted to mention was just that, the last couple of years. So more recently, you raised upwards of $200 million. I forget the exact conversion, but a significant round of funding. So congratulations there. Just signifies
Thank you.
continued kind of momentum towards this vision. But in doing that, that comes off of a period of time where the brick and mortar industry is closed. Gyms, we're not clear if and when and how we're getting back to exercise in person. So to come out of that at a time where, on the flip side, we see every at-home or digital anything raising all of the money and seemingly scaling forever into the future. How did you navigate that time? Not only, I think, from a business, which is certainly interesting and would be interested to hear about, but even from the perspective of you know just a human and a person who's trying to think, like, this is the whole business that we built. Obviously, a part of you is saying, like, yeah, we'll get back to the gyms. The industry's not going anywhere. I think people who know the brick and mortar industry well, I think, seemingly felt that way, like, in their heart of hearts the entire time. But that doesn't mean it wasn't incredibly stressful and trying and difficult to kind of stick to that mentality. So maybe, how did you navigate that? And then coming out of that, how are you able to accelerate in a way where you are today, raising funding, expanding to the US, and growing the business?
Yeah, man, I can tell you, like these 2 years, they were really, really stressful. I wished had oftentimes found my inner Buddha, I always like to say. What helped me most was my dog Romy, kind of hugging her in difficult times. I always almost felt bad about it because I sometimes felt like, and now I gave all my stress to her. But in all seriousness, we did have a board meeting in April 2020. And there was the question from one of the board members, hey, Philip, like we are in connected equipment, like for 10 years, no one knows this space better than us. Home fitness is hyped like crazy. Shouldn't we just kind of divest from gym and just go all in home? And, you know, what has always proven me in life well is just kind of never follow like a hype cycle that you don't understand, and rather have like a consistent kind of logical roadmap for everything you want to do. And like what I understand is that strength training specifically is the most important thing that we need to do to tackle all kind of chronic conditions, but also to live longer and better. And if you are not an expert user, strength training from your home is almost mission impossible, because for that you need a lot of guided movements, all kind of different machines. And so that everyone would build their entire gym themselves just doesn't make sense. And because our true north is we want to connect the fitness and the healthcare market, in our view, that's just not possible from the home. It needs to be the gym. And so I pitched to my board at the time, it logically will never work to connect home and healthcare. It needs to be the gym and healthcare. And let's have everyone go after the home users, which is a great business too. And let us be the only tech player in the gym. Okay, at the time when I said that, I didn't expect that, like, we have, 2 years of lockdown basically, and no one knew when it ends. But that kind of navigated our thinking. It makes, for our true north, it makes no sense to go away from the gym. And so that we just kept doing it. And then how we operationally survived COVID was, we ended up basically doing an immediately cost cutting. It was a horrible day on March 30, 2020. We did a 25% OPEX cut in one single day, but then we're able to not furlough anyone and still develop stuff that even gyms and employers and employees needed at that time. And so a miracle happened. We were able to keep our revenues in 2020 and 2021 on the 2019 levels. And then when gyms opened again, we were like ready to grow really fast, and we did. And so now basically, even though in growth financing, it's right now a very difficult time, I think we were like the investor that from Miami that now ended up investing into us, Affinity Partners. They said basically, hey, you have an amazing underlying base case, just like when I look at your financial performance now. But even if we discount what you're planning to do by 95%, it could be huge, right? And so kind of, I think our financials, we are growing 70%. We are profitable now in the 3-digit million amount of revenues. So really robust business, very high NPS. Just to give an example, from all the gyms that ever bought from us, since 2011, we only lost 3% as a customer. And so like we have always been focusing on our existing customers to treat them really well, to help make sure that they're successful. And all of that led to that, even though it's a really difficult time for fundraising, and we've come back kind of out of this insane like black swan event for us, I think that's why we were able to still convince Affinity Partners to invest such a big amount into EGYM.
Yeah, it speaks volumes for the execution that you've been able to, prove over the last decade. It's not, you've de-risked the business and the platform. And oh, by the way, you survived what is hopefully a once in a lifetime black swan event. So
I hope so.
Yeah, to their point, it's like all the things are trending in the right direction. And if you can survive that, it bodes really well for what you're going to be able to do given at worst, like normal circumstances.
Yeah. I always like to say that to my team when we have a celebration and I give a speech or so. It's like, and the good thing is also we now kind of know how we will be doing in case of our entire industry being declared illegal for 2 years.
Yes.
Kind of hard to imagine something worse.
It's crazy. Yeah, like I said, it speaks volumes of like the execution and just I think there are no shortage of examples, stories really, of people who during that time either maybe closed up shop and didn't think that they could weather it, or were forced to, pivoted in a way that maybe now, I think you said it really well, is like not falling victim to a hype cycle that you don't understand. Just like, if you can't explain this
Yeah,
thing, if you can't justify it, if you can't rationalize it, like you can't
yeah.
basically put your whole business at the whim of that ultimately.
Absolutely. And, you know, for example, if I would now turn my camera a little bit to the side, you will see that here is an hydro and a Peloton next to me. So I work out in the gym 2 or 3 times a week. And I work on all other days when I'm in my home office here. I work on hydro and Peloton, like many people do. But during the pandemic, many of my friends told me, like, but will Peloton not kill the gym? And I'm like, have you ever been to a gym? Like, do you see everyone doing spinning there? Like, I mean, this is like, you know, telling a basketball player, that's always the example I used, telling a basketball player, hey, I have great news for you. You can now have a table tennis in your home. And so you can switch from basketball to table tennis, and then you can do it at home. And then I would say most basketballers would say, yeah, but I still like basketball, right? And so the gym is so much the gym is so much more than, you know, a class-based cardio workout. And so kind of I love all these products and they're all great, but the gym has its place too. And, you know, even pre-COVID, 1/3 of all households in Europe and the US had a home exercise equipment. I think pre-pandemic, I saw a number, 60% of Peloton users had a gym membership on top. And so it has been during these lockdowns, we had like a crazy narrative, kind of how many companies would kill the gym, even though they should be just joining a greater experience and allow kind of a multi kind of omni-channel experience for people that want to be like moving mountains. Like, for example, I decided for myself, I want to invest in my health. I want to live longer and better. And so when people ask me, how often do you work out? I always like to say, well, I don't work out 1 day per week, right? Because I want to live longer and better. And so therefore, in my case, I'm willing to pay, like unlimited willingness to pay for fitness. And so kind of I have home fitness equipment and I go to the gym.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it was so much, I think at times, more of the narrative that from a technology, at home fitness, connected fitness, digital, like, needed to sell this idea of, we are the disruptor, we are the, you know, the future, we are the replacement, we are like the same way that the arcade went away when video games came to the home. We're gonna do, like, and that was part of this hype cycle that, if you looked at it hard enough, you kind of see like, well, why are we disrupting anything? Why aren't we just saying this is another solution that exists for people if they want it, and here it is, let's plug it into this existing ecosystem that, oh, by the way, isn't doing that great of a job on its own of serving the needs of all of the people. Like, we could collectively be doing better anyway. So
yeah. And you know, the way I always look at this, for example, Peloton, as a huge fan, I think it's amazing, and it should be an aspiring example for gyms, what they achieved, because they were able to scale a product for like 20 times higher price than any other home fitness equipment before, with a better experience. So like, just if you're a gym operator, think about it. If you were able to 20x your prices, that would be amazing, right? And Peloton has shown it.
And wrapping up, I wanted to just talk briefly about, so here we are, like, we talked about COVID, we talked about the investment, getting to this point, and now continuing to accelerate, whether that's entering the US or developing new products or expanding the services. What is the milestones, the benchmarks? What are you excited about as you think about continuing, but also like this next phase?
Yeah, I mean, we in Germany now we have our what we call gym tech solutions in 20% of all gyms. So we are well past the largest corporate fitness aggregator. We have deeply integrated the data and have finally, you know, even the health insurance, which is in Germany socialized. the CEOs of health insurance companies calling us. But it's a bit more tricky in Germany because due to socialized healthcare, there's not like a clear incentive scheme for prevention. However, now in the US, like we are far away from being 20% of all fitness facilities. We're growing. US is our fastest growing market, but I'm actually really excited to think how can we, help our existing customers in the US to rather accelerate, maybe via WellPass to, attach them to additional revenue streams coming from employers. And so really help this entire industry to go more digital. By the way, very important, what I mean by going digital is the core business, the training floor, not kind of sitting on an analog training floor, but then doing all kind of things digitally outside the gym. And so kind of really taking the gym online, making it this mass market that actually works and connected to healthcare. And with all our partners, I mentioned several brands already, right? Like with all of them together, let's think in collaboration, how can we get this done and improve our growth rate, not to like go from maybe 4% CAGR right now to 20%. We could do it because we have so much to offer. And that's really exciting. And I'm doing this now for 12 years. And every day I still love going to work because every day I have meetings thinking about how can we make sure that people live longer and better. And I think that should be also the mantra for every one of us. Everyone working in the fitness industry should understand that they're doing something really important. But we will need to take a few steps to monetize that. And that will then help us for more investment and so on and so on. And I'm really excited about exactly that.
Yeah, I think the discussion today, both of things has me excited about certainly what you're working on in EGYM and also how that maps to just the potential of the industry and where I think we're really set up to grow moving forward and the impact that will have. So yeah, it was selfishly a great conversation for me. I'm sure the listeners will enjoy it as well. A lot of really great insights and perspective, I think, to think about where things are headed and what the possibility of that holds. But in wrapping up, we talked a lot about, partners or expanding or WellPass, employers, healthcare. Where would you point folks? Is it just the website to learn more? If there was some type of like call to action that you would direct them to.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out our solutions on egym.com, but also very happy for you to reach out to me directly, or you find me on Twitter, for example, as Philip RS, or you reach out to my team like Dana in the US, for example, Dana Milkey, and start discussing this with us. But, I also wouldn't want to end this, Joe, without making you a huge compliment because, I'm a big fan of what you're doing because our industry, as we want to become more professional, we need someone like you to help us really kind of learn from each other and elevate our ideas together. And you do such a great job, and I want to thank you for that.
No, I appreciate that. I'm very grateful. I hope that, the role ultimately that we want to serve is not only creating a platform to invite folks like yourself who are out there doing the work, but also, to your point, to share ideas in a way that, if we can accelerate all these things that we talked about, hypothetically and health span and lifespan and wellness and healthcare, like ultimately our goal is just to get there faster, to get there in a more impactful way, to get there together.
Right.
So I appreciate you saying that. And I'm equally grateful for not only the work that you do for also making some time. It's late in Germany to hop on the call with us and discuss today. So I'm really glad we got a chance to do it.
Thanks.
One more thing before you head out, help us spread the word. Take a minute to rate and review the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or share this episode with a friend. And if you like conversations like this, you'll love the Fit Insider newsletter. We send it every Tuesday. The link is in the description. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you back here next week.